District Attorney Sandra Doorley, Sheriff Todd Baxter, Judge Alex Renzi in New York State Supreme Court. My name is Chris Chichester. I'm an innocent man. This is the Freedom of Information Law. There are 24 documents I'm holding in my hand. The number that you will comply with is 0. This here is the certified mail return receipt for this November 3rd, along with post office on East Main Street in Rochester, New York, and mailed it to you. So you sign for this tomorrow and you refuse to comply. You will be 0 for 24. You see right here, so I point to this to communicate with you with the official finger of Brooklyn, New York. You wouldn't know anything about Brooklyn, New York. You spent your entire miserable sick lives in Rochester and Monroe County. Sheriff Todd Baxter, 130 South Plymouth Avenue, Rochester, New York. District Attorney Sandra Doorley, 47 South Fitzhugh, Rochester, New York. Alex Renzi, New York State Supreme Court, 99 Exchange, Rochester, New York. Paul C. Metzler, 195 Bad Road, Penfield, New York. James Mully Jr., 195 Bad Road, Penfield, New York. You two hacks, Paul C. Metzler and James Mully Jr., better send me a list of defendants. I will tell the employees of the United States Department of Justice I work for Attorney General Merrick Garland and Assistant Attorney General for Civil Rights, Kristen Clark, that you're refusing. I'll tell United States Attorney for the Western District of New York, Trinity Ross, that you're refusing Paul C. Metzler. How's that explained? It's a public proceeding, you skinhead widow. Send me a list of defendants, and also for John P. Lomenzo Jr. I'm not just asking for you. And when it's on its way, will arrive tomorrow that you'll sign for, was sent to you on September 26th. September 27th. It's been tracked. September 29th. October 14th. October 24th. October 26th. October 28th. And when the post office is closed on Sunday, I go to UPS on Park Avenue, just like I did on October 17th. This is 2 weeks ago. Everything I'm going to read you received on October 17th because it's been tracked by UPS. Right here. Sheriff Todd Baxter, got the tracking number on it. Paul C. Metzler, James Mully Jr., Alex Renzi, Sandra Doorley. What's the problem in Jonestown? The problem is you're corrupt. It has an answer, that question. What's the problem? So, October 17th, UPS. October 31st, UPS. Today, United States Postal Service, as I just showed you, over and over and over. And you receive it tomorrow, right here. I can't even find out the names of my prosecutors with silence since I've been in jail 6 times. How am I in jail once when a prosecutor doesn't talk in court? How's that happen to any citizen? Sandra Doorley. Does it matter to you? And it doesn't, because you're corrupt. In my illegal eviction by my psychopath landlord, Giuseppe Spano and Antonino Spano, where Giuseppe Spano is now dead, he assumed room temperature at 47 years of age. I like to think that God was watching him. Locked doors and locked me out, but I don't know if it's him. I don't know if it was him or his father. So I'll write a criminal complaint about Antonino Spano. You know what I'm talking about? Because I've contacted you in writing on YouTube about illegal eviction. I slept in a Harris Rail Park in Penfield for 3 weeks because he was tough. So I don't have things that I had previously. I had to get my DD-214. I looked at my DD-214 and I had to keep it together because I love looking at my original. And I had to get, or now I have, from the Department of Motor Vehicles, an application for permit driver's license, non-driver ID card. Because everything I own is gone because of an illegal eviction. And the person I believed evicted me in contravention of law is now dead. So, things I no longer have. I'm not going to engage in any narcissism, but I ran a 5K. I've been a runner since I was 12 years old in Cobbs Hill Park. I went to Target, and runners will almost obsess about their uniforms, or their racing apparel, I should say, not uniforms. Because I want to look a certain way at a race. And I went to Target, and I got these red, white, and blue shorts. I've shown this here previously. I thought that's so me. And I don't have it anymore. I was 17th at this race. I think I ran 22 minutes. This is a real cross-country course. The things in my life that give me joy, that would give anybody joy, I don't have anymore. I don't have that outfit. I don't have those shorts. I don't have those racing shoes. And I was on here on YouTube holding up things that I no longer have anymore. And the person I believe that did this to me is now dead. But the father could have possibly did this to me because of the health of the son. The father is Giuseppe Spano, the landlord of 26 Sanders Farm Drive, and the father is Antonino Spano. And I'm going to be in contact with him. I will write the criminal complaint about the father, and you will not arrest him. Sandra Doorley and Todd Baxter, is it illegal for a landlord to lock the doors on a tenant and the tenant doesn't know? And is it illegal to take every personal possession of the tenant to a storage locker anywhere in the United States of America? And for me, it was Webster, New York. I do not know if Antonino Spano did this, but I'll contact him and ask him. I will write to him. I believe he's in Fairport, and he'll sign for it. And then if I don't hear from him, because I'll be making accusations, I'll be saying either you or your father did this to me. Because I own nothing. I have nothing. It should never happen in the United States of America. Any citizen. So, it's coming tomorrow. The number of Freedom of Information Law documents, and it's 24 I have in my hand, that you will comply with is 0. And that's why you're corrupt. Todd Baxter, Sandra Doorley, Alex Renzi, New York State Supreme Court awaits me alone. Paul C. Metz from Penfield Town Court, James E. Melley Jr. Penfield Town Court. Sandra Doorley and Todd Baxter, but in particular Sandra Doorley, redirect defendants away from Paul C. Metz and James E. Melley Jr. Do you know why? Penfield Town Court doesn't have a jury box for a jury of 12. Penfield Town Court doesn't have a table for a prosecutor to sit at. Penfield Town Court doesn't have a table for a defense attorney and a defendant to sit at. Penfield Town Court doesn't have a witness box for testimony. Now, you pathetic diva, you've been at the district attorney's office for 30 eternal years. Based on your understanding of a courtroom, Sandra Doorley, is Penfield Town Court a courtroom? I'm not asking this rhetorically because I'll contact you in writing and restate what I just said here and ask if you think Penfield Town Court's a courtroom and you're going to exist in that stone cold silence of corruption. Sandra Doorley. My name is Christopher Chichester. Today is November 3rd, 2022. I'm an innocent man. This is the Freedom of Information Law. The number of Freedom of Information Law documents you will comply with, as I read everyone, is 0. The internal disciplinary records of documentation for employees of the Monroe County Sheriff's Office, Sheriff Todd K. Baxter. Sheriff Todd K. Baxter is disciplined, reprimanded, or terminated from employment at the Monroe County Sheriff's Office. What's the disciplinary process? You will refuse to answer. If you're asked by employees at the United States Department of Justice, how do you discipline your employees? How do you terminate your employees? How do you decide to fire someone? How many employees in the Monroe County Sheriff's Office, since your Nuremberg rally on January 2018, have you fired, Todd Baxter, and you refuse to answer, and that's why you're corrupt? How many of your employees have you disciplined, and what is the disciplinary process? Such as like for $67,000, Shannon Meyer writing a warrant for my arrest for walking through a parking lot I've walked through 4,000 times. There it is right there. My neighbors walking through that parking lot. Can you see my neighbors? You skinhead stooge, you party-switching criminal, Todd Baxter. There's no warrant for my arrest for my neighbors. I know these two. I've talked to nearly every neighbor I can talk to and reach around where I used to live at 26 Sanders Farm Drive about what's happened to me because of Nehra Shah and Layla Kumar Shah at 2033 Penfield Road. After the fireworks in Harris Royal Park on June 30, 2019, 500 people walked through that parking lot. The accusatory instrument for me, the arrest warrants, walked through his parking lot. Did you have 500 arrest warrants for that day in Harris Royal Park? The answer is no. Where's my 14th Amendment right to equal protection of laws? And it's been obliterated by $67,000 cop from hell, Shannon Meyer. Did you fire her, Todd Baxter? And the answer is no, because you're corrupt. Freedom of Information Law. The internal disciplinary records of documentation for employees of the Monroe County District Attorney's Office, District Attorney Sandra Doorley. That District Attorney Sandra Doorley is disciplined, reprimanded, and terminated from employment at the Monroe County District Attorney's Office. Should you fire an assistant district attorney who doesn't talk in court as a defendant is delivered to jail? Every courtroom in the United States of America, the foundation of which is the First Amendment. How am I in jail once when a prosecutor doesn't talk in court? 6 times I've been leveled by jail without a prosecutor uttering one syllable. I have prosecutors assigned to my cases. Should you discipline an assistant district attorney who doesn't talk as that defendant assigned to that district attorney is delivered to jail? The answer is yes. And what should happen is that person should be fired. What's the name of my 5'2" three-piece suit boy before Paul C. Metz was Sandra Doorley, and you refused to tell me his name? It's Julie Hahn, my prosecutor, in front of John P. Lemelzer Jr., who's now in Monroe County Court. The two females standing behind my last appearance in New York State Supreme Court for Alex Renzi, what are their names? I don't know if they're court employees or they're my prosecutors. Disclose the names of all my prosecutors. You're going to sign for it tomorrow, and you refuse, and this is why you're corrupt. The names and salaries of every public employee at the Monroe County Sheriff's Office, Todd K. Baxter. I'm going to send this to you with the dates, meaning January 1, 2018 to June 30th, 2018. I'm going to send you 10 Freedom of Information Law documents from January 1, 2018 to December 31st, 2022 for that 5-year period and 6-month period so I can look at each payroll and see how you delivered raises. I'm going to tell Thomas P. DiNapoli to investigate you as far as your payrolls and how you're delivering raises, because I think you exist in $10,000, $15,000, $20,000, $25,000 raises. On one page of the payroll, you have 12 employees, you pay $100,000 or more. I don't know if that number has changed. And have those individuals been given raises? Well, the way I find that out is to acquire payroll in 6-month periods, and you refuse because you're corrupt. Todd K. Baxter. The names and salaries of every public employee at the Monroe County District Attorney's Office, District Attorney Sandra Doorley. What's not to understand? You diva from hell. Do you have employees of the District Attorney's Office who don't work at 47 South Fitzhugh in Rochester, New York? Are they in satellite offices? Are they from home? Are they somewhere else? Because as I have ridden my bike by Jonestown at 47 South Fitzhugh, I looked at the payroll when I acquired it. I thought, how does everybody get into that little shack? What's the answer, Sandra Doorley? Employees in the United States of America abuse overtime. There was no overtime when I worked for the governor majority leader in Albany for 7 years. There was no overtime when I worked for Congressman Mark Smith for Texas, Senator Olympia Snow of Maine, and Capitol Hill for 5 years. Your salary was your salary. It didn't matter if you worked 60, 70, 80 hours a week. I'm absolutely confident you have overtime at the sheriff's office. I'm less so for the district attorney's office, but I believe that's the case. But tell me the answer, and you will refuse. You have an employee that can exist at $60,000, and that employee can suddenly be over $100,000, Todd Baxter. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Do you, Todd Baxter, earn overtime in addition to your $132,000 salary? Do you, Sandra Doorley, earn overtime in addition to your $203,089 salary? How's it going to look to the people of Monroe County if you two-party switching extremists are being paid overtime even though your salary is set in statute? Total cost of overtime, time and a half, I'll pay beyond base salaries calculated at the Monroe County District Attorney's Office, Sandra Doorley. What's not to understand? Sandra Doorley, your desk jockeys will sit at that desk 45 hours, 50 hours, 55 hours, and that overtime can accumulate. There are real trials in Monroe County because of the violence that descends on this county, especially in Rochester. It's understandable if an assistant district attorney works beyond a 40th hour. It's not understandable how you refuse to pay that assistant district attorney who works beyond a 40th hour. Are you going to tell the duly elected control of state of New York, Thomas P. DiNapoli, in the Alfred E. Smith building in Albany, New York, that you refuse to disclose this information? The answer is yes. You're corrupt. Kathleen Miller, I'm going to ask you what I've asked you repeatedly. Have you ever been sexually harassed? As you understand the term at the Monroe County Sheriff's Office? Do you know females that have been sexually harassed at the Monroe County Sheriff's Office? What's the answer? The cost to taxpayers, if Monroe County Sheriff Todd K. Baxter expended taxpayer dollars to settle employment-related discrimination lawsuits fair to comply with Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. I've seen members of the State Assembly and members of the Senate, members of the House of Representatives, members of the United States Senate, where I've been employee of all 4 of those institutions, behave in disgusting, vulgar ways, especially with staff. There was a fundraiser when I was in Albany working for the majority leader 30 years ago. I worked for Ralph J. Marino from 1990 to 1994. And a senator left the fundraiser with a woman and then came back and her dress was on inside out. And me and my fellow staffers laughed about this one. This was a whole new level of ridiculous behavior by New York State senators. And there's something called the Bear Mountain Compact. I'm not going to get into that because I don't have so much time here at 15 minutes. But Google Bear Mountain Compact in Albany, New York, and you're going to find out what happens in Albany, New York. Perhaps you already know, because you're educated and have experience. But what I saw in Albany, New York, when I was 26 years old, really was shocking. I can remember calling my mother and father on the phone and talking to friends from Long Island and saying words to the effect that you really wouldn't believe what goes on up here and what I see. And it manifested itself in Ashley Alexander Dupree and Elliot Spitzer. That really was the culmination of everything that I saw in Albany. For me personally, I'm not talking about the culmination of the state of New York or the political culture. For me, when Elliot Spitzer resigned in disgrace on March 13, 2008, because of Ashley Alexander Dupree in the Mayflower Hotel in Washington, D.C., I was not surprised. And then Andrew Cuomo did not learn from the resignation and disgrace of Elliot Spitzer, because corruption is infested in Albany, where the incumbent governor resigned in disgrace because of his aberrant behavior, didn't learn his lesson from the previous incumbent governor that resigned in disgrace because of his aberrant behavior. Is there aberrant behavior at the district attorney's office and sheriff's office? What's the answer? If I repeat some of these, it's because corruption requires reputation. The cost to taxpayers of Monroe County Sheriff Todd K. Baxter suspended taxpayer dollars, settle employment-related discrimination lawsuits, fair to apply Title VII Civil Rights Act of 1994. The cost to taxpayers of Monroe County Attorney Sandra Doorley expended taxpayer dollars, settle employment-related discrimination lawsuits, fair to apply with Title VII Civil Rights Act of 1964. It's a different way for a sheriff office employee to be engaged in what's commonly called sexual harassment than for an assistant district attorney, because the sheriff's office employees outside in vehicle and uniform and in secluded places, whereas the district attorney's office, there you are in the office in your little shack. You could be sexually harassing someone at that district attorney's office on email with these disgusting, sickening, misogynistic jokes. That is a form of sexual harassment. There are degrees of sexual harassment. There are behaviors that are considerably more aberrant and criminal in what constitutes sexual harassment. That's the way it is. So, is there aberrant and criminal behavior at your district attorney's office? The cost of taxpayers of Monroe County District Attorney Sandra Doorley expended taxpayer dollars, settle employment-related discrimination lawsuits, fair to comply with Title VII Civil Rights Act of 1964. Sandra Doorley, before you were elected district attorney, were you sexually harassed the Monroe County District Attorney's office as a new employee? Because you've been there for 30 years. Did you, Sandra Doorley, in the 1990s, when you began employing the district attorney's office, witness sexual harassment? As it's still ongoing at your district attorney's office? Lie to me, Todd Baxter, even though I've seen the images from this fucking contraption you bought, you party switching stooge and criminal. Tell me if this is private technology on 2025 Penfield Road for a business called Consumer Insights, or if you bought it and it fixed it for me. And what am I talking about? This is what I'm talking about, Todd Baxter. The cost of a surveillance device purchased with taxpayer dollars by Monroe County Sheriff Todd K. Baxter and fixed to a building at 2025 Penfield Road to monitor Christopher Childs at 26 Sanders Farm Drive walks through the parking lot next to the building. Am I New York's 4,000 time criminal, Todd Baxter? The answer from you is yes. I'm not trying to be facetious. There's two of my neighbors. $67,000 cop from Hell, Shannon Meyer believes it's a crime to walk through that parking lot, and so do you, because you haven't fired her, right? You will have to say yes, it's a crime to walk through this parking lot, Todd Baxter. As ludicrous and ridiculous as that is, you will have to say it. It's not a crime for me to walk outside and tell Steve Desmond or Brock Cole, truly don't care, nobody owns the land next to my residence, and walk back in my residence. That's not a crime. So Todd Baxter, it's not a crime to walk through this parking lot. It's not a crime to tell a man on his tractor nobody owns the land next to my residence. Your employees do not understand behavior that's a criminal act. 6 of you are at my residence? You're planning to do this to me? I had to tell my mother and father about that day. It is one of the worst days of my life when I had to call my mother and father and tell them I was arrested. Just for telling a man on his tractor nobody owns the land next to my residence. I hate this Shannon Meyer with such an intensity. If hellfire descended on her in front of me, then that's justice. Taking pictures of the employees underwater in the pool. I'm not holding up these photographs of the underwater in the pool in Ryan Fisher, Atlanta, Georgia, which I'm going to get to momentarily because of time. Where was this photograph taken? Is this a private event that you expend taxpayer dollars for? And you refuse. Just like you refuse to tell me if you're paying Michael Rather with private money. I don't care that he was hired on January 2018. That was in my email, which I already knew. I care if he's paid private money to work at the sheriff's office, which I'm going to get to. You disclosed it when he was hired. Now I know. He was hired on day one. You needed him as your gopher, as your yes man. At $0. Has he been paid $0 since he started on the first day, January 1, 2018, Michael Rather at your Nuremberg rally? Has he been paid $0 the whole time? When I review your campaign accounts, if there are dispersals to Michael Rather, you're paying him private money to go to work at the sheriff's office. How's that explained? To control time, speak to Apple. Freedom of information. The cost of taxpayers photography session approved by Monroe County Sheriff Todd Baxter, photo of 10 Monroe County Sheriff Office employees underwater in the pool. I repeat some of these things. It's because corruption requires repetition. Here's Ryan Fisher. In the South, in Atlanta, Georgia, where the flag was not changed from stars and bars until 2003. That's how alienated Georgia is from the United States of America. Anybody who understands the flag in New York with its beautiful motto, Excelsior, ever higher, will in all likelihood be repulsed by Georgia and stars and bars. I love that flag. We stay in New York. I believe millions of New Yorkers love that flag. And here's Ryan Fisher in Atlanta, Georgia with the Rednecks. How much was the hotel? Todd Baxter, you refused to answer. How much was the plane ticket? Todd Baxter, you refused to answer. And he took his dog. And how much was the care and feeding of his dog? Since I don't have the payroll, I can't state his salary as I ridicule him. So send me the payroll, since it already arrived and it's been tracked. Todd K. Baxter, Freedom of Information Law. And I've sent this to you 30 times, and the number of times you complied this exact same language is 0. The cost for hotel and plane ticket for Monroe County Sheriff's Office employee Ryan Fisher to attend the Super Bowl in Atlanta, Georgia with his canine dog Lola on February 3rd, 2019. The weight problems of your Sheriff's Office employees are a disgrace. Your employee that is overweight places himself or herself at risk every day on the job. You have to have physical strength to be a Monroe County Sheriff's Office employee because you face real danger and real violence every day. And why are your employees overweight? Because you're overweight, Todd Baxter. You can't demand physical fitness from your own employees because you're a joke in your uniform. I saw you walking down East Main Street at that parade. I think it was the Memorial Day parade. I said your name and you acknowledged me. And after you said my name, it was confirmation of what I already knew as you were walking by me, that he's overweight. Lose weight, Todd Baxter, Sheriff of Monroe County, and tell your employees that exist at 20, 30, 40 pounds overweight, not only just to lose weight, but to exercise and institute a physical training program so your employees can protect their lives. What are the physical training standards or requirements at the Monroe County Sheriff's Office, Sheriff Todd Baxter? You have none. This is Michael Rather. I changed the language just a little bit. The day and year Monroe County Sheriff Todd K. Baxter rehired Michael Rather after his 20-year career with the MCSO ended, and send me the documentation signed by Sheriff Todd K. Baxter to rehire Michael Rather. He's been there since January 2018. Has he been there the whole time at $0? Or has he been there the whole time being paid campaign money? Or has he been there the whole time being paid private money that's not campaign money? 6 years he's going in to the office for no money? What I just said, I will disclose to Controller DiNapoli, and I'll tell Controller DiNapoli or his employees to demand an answer from you about Michael Rather. I do not know the legality of it either. If you could pay a public employee at the Monroe County Sheriff's Office or any government office, bureaucracy in the state of New York, private money to go into the office. But what's the answer, Todd Baxter? You complied with the fact that he's been there since January 1, 2018, but I don't know if how he's paid, how he's compensated. What's the answer, Todd Baxter? And the number of words I'm going to hear from you about Michael Rather is 0. Who's at your jail? The name in charge of every inmate of Monroe County Sheriff Todd K. Baxter's Monroe County Jail from January 2018 to November 3rd, 2022. You do not separate your violent inmates from the non-violent inmates. That's a disgrace. I'm walking around there with the murderers, the rapists, the arsonists, the true degenerates in Monroe County. When a prosecutor doesn't talk in court, I still don't know their names. Give me these names, Sandra Doorley. Do you understand what I'm asking you, you diva from hell? I have prosecutors assigned to my cases. What are their names? This name here is this Julie Hahn, who's now in Monroe County Court. Documentation for the case for Christopher Charges before John P. Lorenzo Jr. in Pembroke Town Court. What is the name of the prosecutor, Sandra Doorley? The documentation for the case for Christopher Charges before Paul C. Metzer in Pembroke Town Court. What is the name of the prosecutor, Sandra Doorley? This is the 5'2", 3-piece suit boy that Regina Harper, the Monroe County Public Defender, says to me, quote, the prosecutor is not backing down. I failed to understand the vengeance at the heart of this boy. Is it immoral or unethical for a prosecutor to call me? And the answer is no. Stone cold silence from this boy. What's his name? Sandra Doorley. And what I'm going to hear from you, Sandra Doorley, is nothing. 0 words. As I'm demanding the name of a prosecutor assigned to my case in Pembroke Town Court for Paul C. Metzer, the public proceeding. The documentation for the case of Christopher Charges for Alex Renzi in New York State Supreme Court. What is the name of the prosecutor, Sandra Doorley? Behind me in my last appearance, I'm going to better be finished and done with you, you party-switching diva from hell. With 2 females. I don't know if they're court employees that work for Alex Renzi or if they're my prosecutors. And if I have multiple prosecutors, tell me the total number of prosecutors and disclose their names. Sandra Doorley, you refuse. This is why you're corrupt. Corruption is a $28,000 skinhead widow in a little room in Penfield, New York that refuses to send me a list of defendants. A list of defendants in Pembroke Town Court for Paul C. Metzer. A list of defendants in Pembroke Town Court for James C. Mully Jr. This will include Jermaine Bem and James C. Mully Jr. I'll tell the Department of Justice you freed this violent dog that snapped my head back at a defunct gym called PW Fitness. We go out to the car. Andrew Reale arrives. He tells me to wait in the backseat of the vehicle. Then he tells Beman what to say to me, marches Beman around the side of the vehicle. Beman says these 7 words to me, and I want to press charges against you. And that's how I'm charged with harassment second. Todd Baxter, Sandra Doorley, a citizen of Monroe County charged with harassment second, harasses another human being. Is that right? Am I correct? Do I even have to say it? I'm charged with harassment second. Well, not only am I not harassing anyone, I have never harassed anyone in my life. Every single coworker, colleague in Albany, Washington, D.C., Fort Campbell, Kentucky, SUNY Stony Brook, SUNY Albany, wherever I've been when I was a graduate assistant at SUNY Albany, will say I've never harassed anybody. And I'll have to live the rest of my life with that little blue ticket with harassment second on Andrew Reale's handwriting. Well, I'm not harassing anyone. I'm violently attacked. You will not fire $79,000 Andrew Reale. And when I'm demanding this information from Pembroke Town Court, Reale called me and left me a message on my iPhone telling me not to call the court. Why is Andrew Reale calling me and telling me not to demand a list of defendants in Pembroke Town Court? And in it, he said that they would be sending it to me, which I haven't received. A list of defendants in Pembroke Town Court for John P. Lorenzo Jr. I know he's retired, you skinhead widow. Send me a list of defendants because I want to see the documentation and look for the name Dan Glaus III. I'm also going to be in contact with you specifically about any files in Pembroke Town Court about Dan Glaus III. You should know who I'm talking about. Accused child rapist. A list of defendants in the New York State Supreme Court before Alex Renzi. This 70-year-old gray-haired fossil, former employee of the district attorney's office, is going to look at this and be in a rage. Who is this citizen to ask me for a list of defendants in my courtroom? Which is the way Paul C. Metzer, James P. Mully Jr., and John P. Lorenzo Jr. are. It's a public proceeding. The entire existence of New York State Supreme Court is tax dollars. Every time a defendant is in there, it's because of tax dollars. Who's in front of this hack and his $200,000 salary? When I contact the United States Department of Justice, tell the United States Department of Justice to ask Alex Renzi for a list of defendants, this is the corruption of him. He will refuse. You went to Watkins Glen, Todd Baxter. I looked at that, and I already knew Ryan Fisher was in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm going to get to you in Watkins Glen, but this is all travel. Animal House, the Monroe County Sheriff's Office, loves to leave Monroe County. How many times have you sent your employees out of Monroe County for a conference or anything else that's not related to the job of the Monroe County Sheriff's Office employee? What I'm going to hear from you, Sheriff Todd K. Baxter, is 0 words in response to this. 4, the cost of taxpayers for all travel out of Monroe County in New York State by employees at the Monroe County Sheriff's Office of Sheriff Todd K. Baxter. How many times since your Nuremberg rally in January 2018 have you, Todd Baxter, left Monroe County? I'm aware of you testifying before a panel in the United States Congress, which that's ridiculous too. And I'm going to contact you about that. How much did you pay for that plane ticket to go down? In fact, it's a plane ticket. How many times have you, Todd K. Baxter, left Monroe County in the official performance of your duties and responsibilities as sheriff? You refuse to answer, and this specifically, precisely, is why you're corrupt. And this pathetic diva from hell will also refuse to answer the same. Freedom of information law, the cost of taxpayers for all travel out of Monroe County, New York State by employees at the Monroe County District Attorney's Office, District Attorney Sandra Doorley. Does this need additional clarification for you as your health is in radical decline? Do you understand the English language, Sandra Doorley? Do you need a copy, The Elements of Style, by E.B. White and Armstrong Jr. for you to understand what I just demanded from you? I'm not asking you and all these. I'm telling you to send me this information. So, I'm fighting off a cold. So, what's not to understand? And this is Watkins Glen. The total cost of the trip to Watkins Glen, New York by Sheriff Todd K. Baxter. What are you doing in that race car? You look like a buffoon. You look like an idiot. You look like a moron. At Animal House in the Monroe County Sheriff's Office. So, what I just read to you has been tracked by the United States Postal Service, November 3rd, 2022. It's coming. I just read all 24 of those documents, and the number of documents you will comply with and send me the information is 0. Because certified mail return receipt. And here's the cards that came back to me on October 31st. Alex Renzi, Sandra Doorley, October 21st. James Muley Jr., Paul C. Metzler, Todd Baxter. I went to United Parcel Service on October 31st. You got it again. What I just read to you arrived UPS. It's going to arrive United States Postal Service. What I just sent to you, I sent to you on October 17th, United States Postal Service. What I sent to you, I sent to you on October 3rd, United Parcel Service. And it was tracked. The UPS store here. On 10/30/2022, this is the tracking. It arrived. So, I go in there, I get a pen. United Parcel Service, the UPS store. I'm communicating with you, demanding information. I'm not asking. How do you explain to the United States Department of Justice you're refusing to send me information, disclose information to me? How is this possibly answered and explained at your sheriff's office and at your district attorney's office? It can't be. Because of corruption. You are absolutely, completely corrupt. Sheriff Todd K. Baxter and District Attorney Sandra Doorley. And you existed in delusional 1984 if you don't think that's the truth. And I'm confident the employees at the United States Department of Justice, United States House of Representatives Committee on the Judiciary, United States Senate Committee on the Judiciary will agree. 6 times I've been in jail, and 6 times a prosecutor has not talked in court. How's that happen once to any citizen? Todd Baxter. and Sandra Doorley. What would you think if Zachary Baxter or Kevin Baxter was in jail 6 times and they came to you and your wife Mary, and there's Zachary Baxter and Kevin Baxter after 6 times saying, Dad, I've been in jail 6 times and 6 times the prosecutor didn't talk in court. What'd you think about that from your son? Do the lives of others matter? Todd Baxter, you do not know what constitutes a criminal act. I'm violently attacked by Jermaine Benham sitting in the back seat of a $79,000 Andrew Yale's police vehicle. I'm not committing arrest for a second. I tell a man who's tractor from Rockall Tree and Long nobody owns the land next to my residence. That's not criminal contempt. Second, you told $85,000 Don Benedetto and the other psychopath with the name Houlihan to come to my residence on August 30th, 2019. They chased me up onto my back porch, and Houlihan perjured himself to a grand jury, convened by Michelle Crowley, saying I swung a hammer at him on my back porch. Don Benedetto and Houlihan are on my back porch because you, Todd K. Baxter, ordered Don Benedetto and Houlihan to come to my residence that night. Do you understand what I just said? Can you process what I just said, Todd K. Baxter? If you're asked by employees in the United States Department of Justice, why did $85,000 Don Benedetto and Houlihan walk on the private property of Christopher Chichester's neighbor at 26 Sanders Farm Drive on that night? Is your answer you don't know what your employees are doing? Because this is what the 2 things that I love about this is you'll have to confirm that you sent $85,000 Don Benedetto and Houlihan to my residence, and that's an absolute total sick disgrace. Or you'll have to admit you didn't even know that $85,000 Don Benedetto and Houlihan were at my residence, and that's an absolute total sick disgrace. So what is it? Did you order Houlihan and Benedetto to come to my residence, or you not know what they're doing? And what I'm going to hear from you is nothing. The number of words that'll exit your mouth about Benedetto and Houlihan being at my residence, stalking me, is 0, Todd Baxter. So, my psychopath landlord, Giuseppe Spano, who locked me out of my residence, is dead. So, I've been saying here that I'm going to write the criminal complaint for him using my ex-girlfriend, Laura Riley, Webster, New York, to take everything out into a storage locker. Well, I can't do that anymore. Well, I'll write to the father about that storage locker, unlocking the doors and locking me out. It takes a court order to lock a citizen out of their residence, and there is no court order for me because I've demanded repeatedly. So Antonino Spano is the father since the son is dead. And I thought the son locked me out because the son owns the residence, and I would deal with the son all the time. 47 years old. He's dead. So I'm going to contact Antonino Spano and ask him facts and circumstances of me being locked out of my residence where I slept in a house in Wayland Park for 3 weeks. And I'm going to make accusations upon Antonino Spano. And if he refuses to respond to my accusations, then I know what the truth is. Do you know what the truth is, Todd Baxter? Sandra Doorley? Alex Renzi? You exist in lies and hatred. And the number of words that will exit your mouths in response to this YouTube is 0.